Let me tell you a story. It was the summer of 2021, I want to say. Maybe it was 2020. Towards the end of that summer, I was playing for my first years of under 15s Gaelic football, and we had won what was my first ever county final win. Great. But I wasn't too happy with my performance. So I did the only thing I knew what to do back then, and I went for a run. I think, what was it? 500 meters each way. So a kilometer total. And that was it for me. That was me for the day. And somehow that lit something inside of me. And so I went for a run again. And again. And again. Every day for nearly a year. It got like, I ran every day for a year. Do you know how mental that is? When you're also balancing football and and weightlifting. Running every day for a year. But when I say I ran every day, I don't mean if there was football on, I count that as my run. I meant I ran and then went to football. Because I had no concept of my own limits back then. This was back when I was 14. I was autistic. I was weird. I was sleeping 6 hours a night, waking up at 4:30 in the morning. It was the most extreme season of my life I've ever been in. Because it was breaking me down. And I refused to acknowledge that. And yeah, the run started short. Some were 3 kilometers, then 5 kilometers, but that walked up to 8 and then 10. On top of football, on top of gym work, on top of 6 hours of sleep, on top of a calorie deficit. No wonder I made no progress during that period. But I think that period also developed that mindset that I'm carrying with me today. If I could go back, I'd somehow like to keep the mindset, but actually train properly. But that's done now. Then Monday, regular enough day, was a January morning, I believe. I went out for my morning run. And I couldn't run. I could walk. But something in my brain just shut off. Just said, no, you're not running today. Which is weird because I wasn't in that much pain. I ran through far worse pain in the past. I wasn't that tired. It's just I went to go jog and I couldn't get the bounce and I couldn't jog. By jogging, by running, it's when basically the definition of jogging is when what is it? Well, the definition of walking is when at least 1 foot is on the ground at all times. So running's obviously the opposite of that. So like you're in the air for some of it. And I couldn't get in the air. Couldn't sustain it. Turns out, as I later found out, what happened was my body knew it was at its breaking point. But I wasn't stopping. So the brain actually refused to send the signal to run. And that's when I knew my body was truly broken. At 15 years old, I was 15 at the time, and I already broke my body. That does things. That does things to a man. That also happened to be the day I made the change. I didn't run for a week after that. I slept properly. I ate more. I took my first rest day in years. I had to swallow my pride. But the thing was, back in that maniac phase, I always assumed if I took 1 day off training, it would haunt me for months. When that day off eventually did arrive, I couldn't care less. I was completely indifferent. At that point, I was like, Tyke, you might think you're indestructible. You're not. You're not. Why are you doing this to yourself? And I had to reflect on why the hell was I torturing myself. The link I drew was because I was a weird child growing up. I had no friends. I barely had friends, and they weren't real friends either. I was lonely. I had anger issues. I isolated myself, and in my own head, I achieved nothing. Which I now link to me during that insane period. I was trying to overcompensate by achieving nothing, and I overcompensated by just not stopping for 18 hours a day. So that's part of my story. The day my body shut down, the closest I ever come to my breaking point. If I forced myself to run that day, I don't know, I could have done some permanent damage that day. So I'm very glad I didn't. So it goes out as a warning to anyone watching. Please be smart with your training. Like, as much as training means to me, it's not everything. So don't ruin your life over it. And for the love of God, take at least one day off per week. If it's something you're having trouble with, I'm opening up some coaching spots. And that'll definitely be one thing I can definitely help you with, is managing a training load if it's something you struggle with. Of course, I can help you with many other parts of athletic training, many of contact athletes, such as myself. So if that's something you'd be interested in, leave a comment, let me know. Otherwise, subscribe, like, comment, share, all that jazz. I'll talk to you again.